Welcome back to another episode of Out Loud Geek, where we discuss news and views about pop culture, science fiction, fantasy, food, cooking, the outdoors, and more. It's time, once again, for another depressing dose of dismal Disney. Right now, as of the time that I am recording this video, Disney currently rules the box office with this year's two highest grossing movies to date. Disney Pixar's animated sequel Inside Out 2, whose earnings are currently more than $1,597.1 million, and Marvel Studios' MCU movie Deadpool and Wolverine, whose earnings are currently more than $1,085.6 million. And for those of you who watch my weekly box office roundup videos, then you'll know that both of those movies have already made bank, which is in stark contrast to Disney's multiple multi-million-dollar flops that made 2023 a very disastrous year for the company at the box office, as I had talked about in multiple videos that I had released last year, including my final 2023 box office summary video that I had released at the end of December. And for Disney, those massive flops included the following. Marvel Studios' MCU movie, The Marvels, whose studio losses are estimated to be between $241 million to $309 million. Lucasfilm's disastrous sequel, Indiana Jones and the Dildo of Destruction, whose studio losses are estimated to be between $183 million to $258 million. Disney's remake of Haunted Mansion, whose studio losses are estimated to be between $138 million to $177 million. Disney's animated movie Wish, whose studio losses are estimated to be around $170 million. Disney's live-action remake of The Little Mermaid, whose studio losses are estimated to be around $105 million. And the last one that I'll list is Marvel Studios' MCU movie Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, whose studio losses are estimated to be around $18 million to $68 million. Together, Disney's 2023 losses for those six movies alone are around $855 million to $1,087 million. So that's nothing to sneeze at. And while 2024 has been a very positive turnaround for Disney at the box office so far, 2025 is likely going to be another cinematic disaster similar to 2023, beginning with the company's currently planned premiere on March 21st for its increasingly controversial and rejected live-action remake of Snow White, starring Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot. But before proceeding, I'd like to ask everyone to please like this video, please leave a comment, please subscribe to support this channel, and please press the bell to receive notifications. Thanks! As I had mentioned in my previous video about the first trailer that was released by Disney at last weekend's D23 for Lucasfilm's upcoming Disney Plus Star Wars series entitled Skeleton Crew, that wasn't the only trailer that was released. And one of the other trailers that Disney had released at D23 was a teaser for Snow White, and right now, as of the time that I am recording this video, the teaser has been ratioed with 69,000 likes to over 728,000 dislikes, which means that 10 times as many people dislike the teaser than like it. Now that's not a good sign for this movie's box office prospects, is it? But why is it being so rejected? There are actually multiple reasons. First of all, Rachel Zegler hasn't exactly endeared herself to the general public with her comments about the upcoming movie, as well as her comments about the much-beloved original 1937 animated Snow White movie that she gave at D23 in 2022. And here's a sample of what she said.
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird. So we didn't do that this time.
So the 2025 live-action Snow White movie is not a remake of the much-beloved 1937 animated movie. In fact, Rachel Zegler had absolutely nothing good to say about the 1937 animated movie that I believe most people still love today. So the 2025 movie is going to be a complete departure from the original story's narrative, so that a modernized, strong woman trope Snow White character, who don't need no man, can become a strong leader. You know, much like what Jodie Turner-Smith said at last year's Star Wars Celebration convention in London about her character in the now completely failed Star Wars series, The Acolyte.
So my character, you know, she's a powerful leader. Yes. In a very woman-centered world, which I was very excited to kind of be that, because I feel like Star Wars is very like patriarchal, so it was kind of cool to have like this sort of woman-centered figure.
And when did the bottom fall out of the viewership for The Acolyte? According to Nielsen, immediately after episode 3, which was when everyone got to see Jodie Turner-Smith's strong female leader and her female-centric world of lesbian space witches.
Power of one, power of two, the power of many.
So that didn't work out too well for Disney or Lucasfilm, as I have talked about in multiple previous videos. And if you go back and look at Disney's 6 biggest flops from last year that I listed earlier in the video, 4 of them had strong woman main characters, and one of them, Indiana Jones and the Dildo of Destruction, had an 80-year-old Harrison Ford who's no longer physically capable of being a swashbuckling hero anymore, teamed up with a very annoying strong woman sidekick character that few people liked. And what live-action movie is doing very well this year? Why, it's Deadpool and Wolverine, which has 2 white male lead characters in it. Isn't it amazing what happens when studios produce what audiences actually want to see and not the crap that they don't want to see? Maybe Hollywood will come to its senses one day. But then there's also the whole other issue about the Dwarfs, which was started by someone who isn't even in the movie, Peter Dinklage, when he appeared in a January 2022 podcast from WTF Podcast. In the podcast, Dinklage said that he was happy that Disney had cast a Latina actress, Rachel Zegler, because he regarded that as being progressive. But he was very unhappy that Disney is even making a movie based on Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs in the first place, because he's clearly offended by the presence of the dwarfs in the story and how they're described.
You're progressive in one way, but you're still making that fucking backward story of 7 dwarves living in a cave. What the fuck are you doing, man?
Then Disney immediately responded to Dinklage, as reported by CinemaBlend back in 2022, and said the following: "To avoid reinforcing stereotypes from the original animated film, we are taking a different approach with these 7 characters and have been consulting with members of the dwarfism community. We look forward to sharing more as the film heads into production after a lengthy development period." So thanks to Dinklage, as I had talked about in a video that I had released back in July of 2023, Disney had initially replaced the story's 7 dwarfs with 7 diverse people, which everyone found out about after someone had shared pictures of them on social media, and they looked absolutely awful. So then Disney changed it up again by going back to dwarfs, except that they're now CGI generated so that Dinklage won't be offended. Thus, thanks to Peter Dinklage and his anger over the story of Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs, 7 actors who could have been cast to portray the dwarfs in Disney's live-action movie didn't get that opportunity. And how much more money has Disney spent to create crappy-looking CGI-generated dwarfs instead of simply hiring actors and using practical sets? I would guess that Disney has probably spent upwards of $100 million to create the CGI-generated dwarfs just to make Peter Dinklage happy. So congratulations to Peter Dinklage for getting Disney to personally pander to him and simultaneously contribute to lost employment opportunities for 7 of his fellow SAG members. And as for the CGI-generated dwarfs, as shown in the teaser that was released, they look absolutely awful. They really do. Why would anyone want to pay money to watch CGI-generated crap like that? They won't be getting my money to watch it, that's for damn sure. But did Peter Jackson have this issue when he filmed his 3 Lord of the Rings movies or his 3 Hobbit movies? No! Except for the large battle scenes and the character of Sauron, all of the principal characters, including the hobbits and the dwarfs, were portrayed using actors. So if Peter Jackson could do it 24 years ago, there's really no excuse for Disney to not have used actors for its dwarfs, regardless of what Peter Dinklage thought. But because Disney hired a ton of woke morons who are far more concerned about pandering to every group under the sun than producing something that most people might actually want to go to movie theaters to see, they'd rather produce unwatchable crap instead. But the controversies surrounding this movie don't end with the terrible-looking CGI-generated dwarfs. Some are unhappy that actress Gal Gadot is in the movie because she's Israeli and she served in the Israeli Defense Forces. So some who are against Israel are calling on people to boycott the movie because of her participation in it. And Rachel Zegler, who has already damaged the movie's potential earnings due to her own comments, as I had talked about earlier in the video, has expressed her own anti-Israeli sentiment on her personal social media account on X, which will undoubtedly keep people who are pro-Israel from wanting to see the movie. And it doesn't really look good in terms of her personal interactions with her co-star Gal Gadot. Then there's still the controversy over Zegler being cast by Disney to portray Snow White in the first place, since she isn't actually white. But there's still one more piece to this puzzle that I want to share in this video, which is the possible production budget for the Snow White movie. 9 months ago, it was being reported that the production budget for Snow White had already surpassed $330 million. And given all of the CGI that's in the movie, that number is believable. So assuming that number was correct 9 months ago, more money has undoubtedly been spent since then, so I wouldn't be at all surprised if the production budget for this movie is a lot closer to $350 million to $400 million now. And when you factor in marketing, which might be as high as $100 million, which wouldn't be unreasonable given that the reported marketing budget for last year's failed remake, The Little Mermaid, was $140 million, then you are talking about a possible total cost of $450 million to $500 million for Snow White. And because movie theaters keep 50% of the gross box office ticket sales for themselves, then we're talking about a possible break-even point range for the movie of around $900 million to $1 billion in terms of global gross box office revenue. So does anyone actually believe that Snow White, with its completely rejected first teaser, has any chance of earning enough money to break even after it premieres in theaters next year? If Disney was smart, they'd stop all production on Snow White and then claim it as a massive tax write-off. But they're clearly going full steam ahead with this disaster of a movie that is undoubtedly going to become a massive box office flop for 2025. Thanks for watching today, and a huge thanks to everyone who has subscribed to our channel. We appreciate your support. If you enjoyed this video, please press the like button, and please feel free to share a comment. If you'd like to help support this channel, please press the red subscribe button, and please press the bell to receive notifications for new content. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Twitter by clicking on the links in the description. Until next time, this is Out Loud Geek.